pledge allegiance to this flag. And if that bothers you, well, that's too bad. But if you got pride and you're proud you do.
Happy November 9th. Welcome back to Common Sense Radio. Wow, this has been a fantastic week for Colorado. We defeated Amendment 66. We won school boards across the state. And Bloomberg, once again, you need to realize your money is no good here in Colorado. So go drink a big gulp and get back to New York. We have an amazing lineup with us in studio today. But before I get started, I want to send out some hugs and prayers for our very own Ann Vinola. She's the editor-in-chief of Common Sense News, and she's at a funeral today for one of a dear friend of hers. Life is precious, and we need to spend every moment thanking the Lord for our blessings and our health and our loved ones. And we're thinking of you and Jerry at this time. Also, happy Veterans Day this Monday. To those who have fought for us, continue to fight for us. We want to give you a huge thank you. Hope that you all enjoyed the Veterans Day parade this morning. And I want to give a shout out to the American Legion Post 209 for their beautiful float and for supporting Honor Flight of Southern Colorado because they did that for us today. I want to kind of get into what we are going to be talking about today. I'd like to welcome back Canda Califf, our research extraordinaire and host of Canda's Corner.
Thanks for having me back, Lana.
Oh, you're welcome. And we love Canda's Corner. People have been just emailing left and right going, that was so awesome.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, it was great. In studio today, we're going to continue our talk on the City for Champions, the proposal. Wait. Maybe the second one. No, maybe this is the third one. No, maybe this is the first one. I'm not sure which one this is right now. But I know that the first one was a train wreck, or so it seems. So was it the pressure that we've put on the City for Champions, or is it, we'll let the exceptional people in studio with us today explain it in more detail. I've got Jason Jason Han. We just talked about this, didn't we?
That's quite all right.
Jason Han, he's a young professional and a strategic consultant, and Jason is amazing. And so we're so glad to have him in the studio with us today. We also have Bill Murray in studio, a 32-year military veteran. Thank you for your service, sir. And also does cyber exercises for the military currently. So, sir, thank you for being with us in studio. Jason, can you bring us up to speed on the City for Champions? For those who don't even know what it is.
Absolutely. So let's discuss a little bit about the background as to what City of Champion is and where really where it comes from. So for most people that don't know, there's an Office of Economic Development up in the state that provides tax funding for tourism endeavors. And so it's called the Regional Tourism Act. And basically what it does is it gives sales tax back to a community to bring in tourism from outside. And there's a process that goes through where an RFP is let, and then specific communities can go out in a competitive process, submit a bid for unique and innovative ideas that bring out-of-state tourism to a specific region. And then there's a bunch of calculations that figure out what sales tax will be contributed back to the community or collected from that zone. Based upon how much money it brings in from out of state. And so there's been a little private secret group here in Colorado Springs that's been working on that for quite some time, and they call it the RTA board or team here locally. And they put forth an initial proposal that they called the City for Champions that included 4 different projects. There was a visitor center at the United States Air Force Academy, which is a very unique and blessing that we have here in Colorado Springs. A downtown stadium that was initially slated to be the new home for the Sky Sox, and in subsequent proposals has now changed.
Right.
We'll address that one here in detail just in a few.
Right.
And then the third project was going to be a new USOC, United States Olympic Committee Museum and Hall of Fame. And then the fourth one was a UCCS, University of Colorado Springs Medical Health and Tourism campus. And so these 4 projects were all kind of rolled up into one specific endeavor that they sent up to the state, and we're looking to get about $82 million worth of our tax dollars in this zone sent back to us so that they could develop these projects. Now, keep in mind, the overall cost of this project that was going to be a public-private venture is over $200 million. And that's really a huge difference between how much money we get back over 30 years.
Can I just really quickly interrupt and ask,
Sure.
Okay, so who's behind the RTA board? The one that's down here in the Springs? I just want to go ahead and find out.
Yeah, and there's, and unfortunately, there's a huge secretive measure on that one. But our mayor, Steve Bach, is spearheading it pretty heavily. Doug Price over at the Colorado Visitor Bureau, Chuck Murphy, who owns Murphy Construction, Bob Cope, which is the city's economic and vitality officer. There's a list, but primary driving that effort is Chris Jenkins, owner and developer of Norwood Company. So.
Oh, okay. So developers are behind this. Okay.
And isn't Chuck Murphy on the RTA board who decides if we get this project approved or not, and they're up at the state level?
Absolutely. And unfortunately, he also owns some of the property that's down there that would be developed as well. So we sincerely believe that there's a conflict of interest for him being on the board and owning the property. And Chris Jenkins owns quite a bit of the property downtown as well. So there's definitely some hidden agendas, or actually maybe not so hidden, and some perverse incentives for why they want to move things to where they want to move them. The biggest focus that I think we've kind of identified is this is a regional tourism act. So this should be for all of Colorado Springs. It shouldn't just be for one particular area. And there's quite a lot of focus on the downtown right now. So.
Yeah, to beautify downtown,
Right.
Maybe bad investments that people have, bought some buildings down there, some real estate down there that they can't lease, they can't sell, they can't do anything with it. There's a homeless problem downtown, a lot of things like that. So maybe let's beautify downtown so that those developers will actually get some money back, or, it's all about rubbing each other's backs. And we're just not going to, we're going to just find every single rabbit hole, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. That's what research is about.
Absolutely.
In the Common Sense News, commonsensенewsusa.com, there's an article in the October edition called City of Champions. It's Why It's a Loser. You can go online. You can download the article to get some more background on that. And we'll have another story coming up in this next issue. I'd like to bring Bill Murray in. Bill Murray and Jason have been working on this, and so I'm going to kind of turn the floor over to them and let them talk about this third-party analysis, the new proposal, now that there's a new one, because the other one just didn't work. So go ahead, Bill.
Well, the first thing we need to discuss, of course, is the independent evaluation that occurred. And there were major deficiencies in the report. Such major deficiencies that they had to actually rewrite the entire proposal. Now, they released the undefined new proposal last night at 9 o'clock to the Gazette. Now, I've checked with the majority of the city council members, and they have yet to see the proposal in and of itself, so it's still a very secretive document. What was surprising when I talked to the EDC in Denver was they commented on the not quality, but quantity of documents that the city had requested to be labeled as confidential. Now, it's their position that if the city asks that the documents be labeled confidential, that they will remain confidential unless a citizen or a city council person requests that information. Well, Mr. Joel Miller, one of our council members, requested the summit economic development data that had been presented by the city. And when they said, well, it's confidential, he said, well, how can it be confidential since it's already public information? At which point they turned it over to Joel Miller and company. And I think the biggest issue that we have to face in this particular environment is process. Why isn't the city, why aren't the voters, taxpayers being told what's going on? We learn it backhand. I mean, if you look at today's Gazette, the report by Rich Layden, it's full of information by Doug Price, who said he declined to disclose additional details. And it goes on and on and on. He says the details will be released next week. And, of course, it requires an additional evaluation of 3 weeks. Now, December 4th, if I understand correctly, is the actual date they make a decision. Well, if it's in reevaluation for another 3 weeks, we don't have a opportunity to reevaluate it as voters and taxpayers.
Right, and unfortunately, what we're really getting at in regards to that process is because the mayor and the proponents for this proposal were saying it had to be done in secret because competitors and other cities out there might steal our ideas and then submit an additional proposal that could be tagged onto that, and then therefore we're not as competitive. We're kind of calling shenanigans on that one, and here's the reason why. In the RTA report and the RFP, for folks that are listening that aren't familiar with that, it's called a request for proposals. It says that it has to be innovative and unique to the area. Well, guess what? We are the only community that has a United States Air Force Academy.
Correct.
Period. We are the only community that has the USOC. So these are things that are absolutely unique. Guess what? We can put those out there and be absolutely confident that nobody else is going to be able to steal those concepts. So the whole secretive and the process and the reason why they gave as to this couldn't be a community involved endeavor is absolutely just ridiculous. One of the big messages that we really wanted to get out was this could have been something that was an opportunity to unify our community, have strong leadership, and tell the community and our citizens, what do you want to see? Where should Colorado Springs go? What does our brand look like? How do we attract people in from out of town to capture the uniqueness of Colorado Springs?
Can you guys speak to the fact that we did have a proposal and now we've got a new proposal? What happened in the interim? Why is there this new proposal?
Do you mind if I jump in on that, Bill?
Jason, go ahead.
So in the RTA analysis report and the third party data that we got back is, and I've kind of highlighted many gaps in here. It says that it has to be reliable economic data and analysis, and unfortunately, there's quite a few gaps in there. As a matter of fact, when we submitted the initial proposal of something, for the tax dollars of something like $82 million, and then the third-party analysis dropped it all the way down to about $30 million.
Oh my goodness.
Jason, those aren't gaps; those are craters.
Yes. And so, unfortunately, what I'm saying is, when I see a discrepancy in numbers that bad, that tells me that that's not reliable economic data and analysis. And so, the information that's in that proposal is absolutely fallacious.
Okay, so basically to recap, we have a second proposal. We're going to get into more of that detail in just a little bit. We're going to go to a break. Please stay tuned, folks. This is so important to our city. If you're a Colorado Springs resident, pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on, and let's follow the money. And we're going to come back to that as soon as we get back from our break. We are the champions. Now, this song I love Queen, and this song is so awesome because we are the champions. Colorado Springs is the champions. We don't need a city for champions to tell us that. Like Jason was just saying before we had gone to the break, Jason was just talking about how this city, we're unique. We're unique to the Air Force Academy. We're unique to the Olympic Training Center. We're unique to, but what I don't understand, and I'm just a little bit, I've got a question. We already have a visitor center.
Yes.
And it's on the Air Force Academy, and it's next to the chapel, where everybody really wants to go take pictures. Why are we building another one?
And that Lana, that brings up a great question. And Bill, as you know, in our break there, Bill and I were talking about why these particular projects. And so, Bill, you want to hit on those a little bit as to why?
Well, let's for a minute visualize a process where you mix an Olympic museum, a downtown stadium, a sports medicine center, and a Air Force Academy visitor center. Well, when I asked the question, somebody mentioned the term, well, it's called co-opting. And I said, what's co-opting? He said, well, figure it this way. Okay, you want a big LED screen TV to watch a football game. So you buy your wife a new dishwasher and give your kids a puppy. This way you get your LED TV. And you didn't need any of these items. Okay, but by co-opting the other players, no one complained about you buying that new LED TV. Well, this appears to be the case here. As a matter of fact, when they did the independent evaluation of the UCCS Sports Medicine Center, they said, we have no way to evaluate it. How do you expect, and can you explain tourists coming to a medical center? And that fell to the point where they didn't even consider it in the proposal and dropped the proposal from $82 million to $31, which reinvigorated the system to come back in and try to request more funds.
So, Bill, the UCCS medical facility is considered tourist.
Well,
that's
the third-party analysts basically dropped it because they said this does not qualify.
Oh,
yeah.
right.
And they try to tout it as being a tourist attraction, and the verbiage that's used in the City for Champions proposal is that people with last-ditch medical efforts will come to a experimental facility and will be attracted to the region. That was the verbiage that was used in City Champions.
Well, the actual review of the application, they stated that the Sports Medicine Center is not clearly defined enough or far enough along in the development process to be evaluated for an RTA funding request. They went on to state categorically that the UCCS contribution is shown at only 5% of project costs. And so they said, well, it's not supposed to be, RTA funds are not supposed to be used to pay for the entire project.
It's pretty funny to me. I think of, hey, kids, let's go get in the car and go do some medical tourism to Colorado Springs. I mean, who's going to do that? It seems so ludicrous.
It's first on, my family vacation. I don't know. The exact verbiage, and I'll read verbatim off of the RTA third-party analysis, as it says, we note that the applicant has not provided any market analysis, survey data, or information from comparable facilities, trade area size for comparisons, and therefore it was stricken from the report.
Well, let's take it one step further. When UCCS was specifically asked about this issue, they said we were going to build it anyway. The money would just make us build it faster.
Which brings up a really good point, Bill, is one of the requirements for RTA funding is that it has to be shown that without RTA funding, there would be a significant barrier to build these projects. And quite honestly, every single one of these, especially given the backers that are behind it, they could build it independently. And so that's one of the principal aspects that we keep addressing is why does this turn into a taxpayer and a citizen-funded private entity when it should really be a private project and money-making business for them?
And on what you just said is what I brought up on we talked about the City for Champions on the previous shows, and about the World Arena being just a few blocks down the road, a privately owned World Arena, that we're going to have an event center to compete against that in an economy like it is, to compete against two major venues. And then now the Sky Sox Stadium. So can you please touch on the Phoenix, in the city of Phoenix, touch on the Sky Sox Stadium being moved. Now it's not going to be a Sky Sox Stadium, but
sure.
Whatever. I mean, just that whole thing.
So as part of my role in strategy and development, I'm also a certified sustainability coach. And so economics and urban planning are really near and dear to my heart. And being a Colorado Springs native and born here, I understand the composition of Colorado Springs. We have dramatic sprawl. And so when you look at where everybody lives in Colorado Springs, I started to contemplate, well, why is everything downtown? And I completely understand. I will never argue that a vibrant downtown is an indicator of vibrant economic stability. But we also have to consider some of the factors that go into that. And so there was a study done last year in 2012 by Dr. Stephen Buckman at ASU, that did a comparison between Phoenix and the Denver Stadium. And everybody keeps saying, well, we could be exactly like Denver. This could be our Coors Stadium, and it's going to be the catalyst, and that's the word they keep using, for downtown economic vitality. Well, they thought the same thing in Phoenix. Unfortunately, they failed to consider how the other factors that go into it. So public transportation, market demographics, who's coming to games, what is the density of the people around there. So the reason why Coors was so successful up there was 99% of their audience lived within a 10-mile radius of the stadium location. Unfortunately, only 40% lived within that radius in Phoenix. So if we look at that as a comparable market indicator to Colorado Springs, look at where everybody lives now. A lot of people have moved up north, out east. The Powers corridor has expanded. And then you also have to consider who's buying tickets to Sky Sox Stadium. Sky Sox has been rated as the number one father-son thing to do for an activity. Well, guess what? Most of those families live out in Stetson Hills, and I guarantee you, I'm still waiting for this data back from the Sky Sox, but I guarantee you'll find that the majority of the ticket sales are coming from that corridor. They're not coming from Southwest. They're not coming from downtown. And then you also have to consider how much money is being spent, which is one of the things that the third-party analysis highlighted. The economic firm that did the research data for the City for Champions was touting 100% of the money that was spent in that region would stay in that particular zone, and that's unreasonable to accept.
Jason, let me jump in for a minute. Two things the public needs to know. One is the projected cost to the stadium. The first projected cost, we don't know what the new stadium is going to look like, is $6,000 a seat.
Wow.
And the second piece.
We're a AAA ball club.
Right.
We're not the Rockies. Bill, you were funny yesterday when you called me and left a message. You said, Lana, I heard you were in Denver yesterday. I hope you were talking the Rockies into coming down to Colorado Springs. I said, that was the funniest message I got on my phone because it's true. If I want to go to a major league ball club, I will go up to Denver. It's 50 miles down the road. I just wanted to say, we have a city councilman named Joel Miller, and we're going to talk about Joel when we come back. But you know what? Joel has been attacked and annihilated from the Gazette. And I am frankly pretty upset about that because he is opening the rabbit holes. He is showing us what's going on. And he is about transparency and accountability. And Joel, we have your back. And we thank God for you that you're even on that council. You and Helen Collins, I know, is also one of those that's fighting as well. And you know what? We're going to talk about that. And we're going to take some calls when we get back at the bottom of the hour.
R-E-S-P-C-T, find out what it means to me. R-E-S-P-C-T, take out T-C-T.
And we are back to Common Sense Radio. Don't forget, if you're listening to this and you want to hear the podcast or the rerun, just go to our website at commonsensenewsusa.com, click on the little icon, and you can go right to our podcasts for all the shows. The Gazette, like I said before we went to the break, the Gazette has been really, really attacking Joel Miller, our city councilman, one of our city councilmen, and he's just such a good, honest man, and he's just really trying to get to the bottom of this, and he's just been really attacked. And I'm going to commend Wayne Lageson, the Gazette, op-ed Gazette editor, to come on the line with us. And he has agreed to call in, and I'm very grateful that he is doing that. So, Wayne, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So have you been listening, Wayne? Have you been listening to what Jason Han and Bill Murray have been talking about?
I've not. I assumed the show started now. I didn't know they were on, so I wasn't listening.
Okay, well, we're talking about, and so let's talk about the City for Champions. And I'm going to actually turn the floor over to Jason and to Bill. And Wayne Lageson is on the line.
Hi, Wayne. This is Jason. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Jason?
Doing great. We've dialogued a little bit over Facebook and some social media interaction. I just want to kind of pose the question to you you've challenged Joel Miller and several others out there that have been kind of bringing up a lot of hard questions for the City for Champions to public debate, things like that. I threw that challenge back to you and said, hey, I'm more than happy to sit down and debate with you anytime you like. Would you mind throwing some of your ideas and beliefs about the City for Champions out there so that we can kind of like start that dialogue?
Well, let's talk about Joel Miller for a minute first, if we could, since that's what this was introduced.
Sure.
We're not attacking Joel Miller because he opposes City for Champions. Obviously, a lot of people oppose City for Champions.
Okay.
At least at this juncture. Joel Miller is an elected official. He has actual power and authority. He gets to vote on public policy. He gets to make change. As a newspaper, as a part of the Fourth Estate, it is our job to criticize and analyze politicians. He is a public figure in every sense of the term, and we're not attacked. We have been highly critical of him, not because he opposes these ideas, but because of the methodology that he has used in his opposition.
Okay.
It is one thing to speak out against something and to discourage something. Another thing to start a letter-writing campaign to the people who will decide on an application for funds that determine whether the community can even consider going forward with this.
So
It seems a little early to sabotage a mere application for funding when the community hasn't really had a chance to hash this out.
Let me ask you this then, because I spoke with Joel Miller when this City for Champions, before it even hit the market. And I asked him, I said, Joel, do you know anything about this? He said, you know what, Jason, I really don't. But I'm going to do my research, and I'm going to make a decision based upon the facts and the details, not based upon what you're telling me. And I said, you know what, Joel, I can completely respect that. Let me send you what I have. That'll give you a start. But he was completely unbiased initially. Let me ask you this, though. Why haven't you gone off for Steve Bach, who's a public official, who was part of the secretive design process, and if based on the same principles of the process in which it was handled?
There was no secretive process, so that's why we haven't gone after Steve Bach.
So, Wayne, you're saying that the
Steve Bach
citizen...
on things that we disagree with him on, such as let's move the Marion Soup Kitchen, or let's forbid panhandling downtown. We've gone after Mayor Steve Bach on a number of things many times in the past.
Well, Wayne, you're saying that wasn't secretive. So the citizens of Colorado Springs, and this is Kanda, by the way, the ditzy conspiracy theorist that you called me.
Which you are.
Thank you. I appreciate being called a ditzy conspiracy theorist in an email, a personal email. I really appreciate that. I will own the ditzy, not the conspiracy theorist. Anyway, so the citizens of Colorado Springs were informed of this then, and how were they informed? If that was true, then why am I not hearing about it when I'm such an active citizen here in Colorado Springs?
There have been articles in the newspaper. The city council was informed of it. You don't go publicly airing, you don't have a great big public process.
Well,
the application for funds when you're trying to avoid every other community in Colorado from coming forward to compete with you for the same funds.
Sure.
Well, Jason disbanded that myth, but one thing you said was the city council was informed. That was an executive session, a secret executive session, and the current city council did not know about it until the proposal had been sent.
Wayne, Bill
not
Murray,
true. That's not true.
Since we talk about open reporting, I'm kind of curious. You've had the EPS report for a week. Yet, and I read the Gazette every day, I have yet to see an analytical report done by the Gazette based on what the EPS said against the City of Champions. How come you didn't report the negative or the positive?
We've reported on it since the minute it became public. We have a story on it that came out this morning. We've had stories on it throughout
it's been
the week.
out. The information has been out
Are
for
you
over a week.
seriously telling me that the Gazette didn't have news stories about the state's analysis of this proposal?
No, I'm not. I'm saying, when did you propose it? Which brings up this next question. You did an article last night, or actually came out this morning, about the new proposals. What are you willing to tell us about the new proposals?
Well, I don't know anything special about the new proposals. I don't handle the news side of the Gazette. I handle the commentary side of the Gazette.
So Wayne,
what I know about the new proposals is what I read in the paper,
sure.
which is that and it's great that, and we have long advocated that the stadium wasn't really supposed to be about baseball, and nobody was trying to force the team to move or anything of the sort.
Can I just ask a real quick question, Wayne, because we've got to go to break here real quick. How do you address the fact that Mayor Bach specifically said we did this in secret if you're saying that there was no secretive agreement?
There's no agreement at all. There's an application that has been submitted to the state, which they'll decide on. They'll assess it. They'll kick it back to the applicants and say, well, we need more information about this. We'd like to know.
But bottom line, it was
instead
secret.
Instead of dealing with this factually as a community and moving forward in a manner in which we can determine whether we want to do some
Wayne-
or all of these projects at all. We're just going to conspiracy theorize. We're going
Wayne,
to
this
say,
is Lana.
a done deal, and they're trying to force it on us and cram it down our throats, which is not the case.
Wayne, can you hang on to break with us? This is Lana. Just hang on to the next break.
Sure.
Where there is desire, there is gonna be a flame. Where there is a flame, someone's bound to get.
Oh, right in the middle of a debate. This is so great to listen to Pink. Right in the middle of a debate. I think it's wonderful. Hey, thanks shout out to Scott, our producer. Thanks, Scott, for keeping us in check. Thank you, Wayne, for staying on the phone line with us. I know this is a heated debate, but it's a healthy debate. And this is what we need to have so that the citizens of Colorado Springs can be informed. So thanks for staying with us, Wayne.
Sure.
I wanted to address the first point that why it was okay to attack Joel because he was doing a letter writing campaign. I will accept responsibility because it was actually my letter writing campaign because I don't believe in any of this lack of transparency, this public funding that will help other people get rich agenda. I have
Canada,
many
right?
issues. So yeah, this is Canada, and
Okay,
so I will
Canada.
take responsibility for that.
Okay, let me explain something to you. The Gazette has not signed off on all of the City for Champions proposals, and they should go forward. The Gazette has defended having a process to begin with. Now, the reason I called you a conspiracy theorist is because you don't deal in fact. You came out with, you started spreading this information right after the recall of Senators Morse and Harone.
This is off subject, so let's get on fact because I appreciate you doing this, but we have other things to address.
This is what you
Wayne.
do. You go out with false
Wayne, no,
information, such
the
as
fact is you're
GOP has
dragging
no
in a
role.
lot of other stuff that is irrelevant to this,
You brought
and
it
so.
up. You brought it
No,
up. You
I brought up the fact that you want
to.
to name call when you are
Name call.
a
I said you're doing
Gazette
a
editor.
conspiracy
I did
theory.
not
And what
respond because
okay.
I have better class
me
than
bring it
that.
back, then.
So anyway,
Let me
do you
bring
guys
it
have
back.
other things to?
Let me bring it back to City for Champions.
Thank you, Wayne.
What you are helping, and you're taking responsibility for Joel's role in this. Joel is the public figure. Joel's a big boy, so
He
can
did
handle
not
it.
do anything with it. It was me who did the letter writing campaign. Let me be
Well,
clear.
I've read his Facebook posts and his blog.
Wayne, let's
and he's
be
advocating
clear.
letters. Now what you've done is create this sort of negative echo chamber.
No,
of
it's Wayne,
conspiracy theories
Wayne.
that this
That's
is
your
a done
definition
deal and
of
it's gonna
negative.
pass developers' pockets and it's
Because
gonna
I
pass
stand
pockets.
up for the
You have no
citizens.
facts
I
to
stand
back
up
that
for the
whatsoever.
citizens. I do not stand up for special interests or
Yeah,
agendas.
you
And I'm
set
sorry,
up
but
stalking
I know
horses and then
that,
tell the
Bill, you
citizens
have a
you're saving
question.
them from the boogeyman. That's
Hey,
what you do.
Wayne, don't let a
And
personal
we're all on
opinion.
the same side here. I
Don't
assume
let a personal opinion override a collaborative effort by the community.
Hey, okay. Can
More
I talk
people
for a minute?
responded back than filed the application. Let's be honest.
May
And
I
all the
talk for a
people
minute?
asked the same questions, made the same comments. We want information. We deserve information. We're voters. We're taxpayers. We
Before
were
any
asking for
information-
information. Joel Miller had to go to
No, you
Denver
weren't asking for
to get
information.
the
Joel
economic
Miller-
summit data. He had to go there
Joel Mi-
because the application process asked that it be confidential. Now, what the heck was that all about? You guys, come on. We
Joel
expect
Miller-
research. Okay, we expect the Gazette, because we trust you guys as the press, to do diligent research.
Apparently
Whether you're
gonna have me on
op-ed
the
or
show, but
not, you
let
are
me
responsible for that paper.
So, Joel,
Well, you don't want me to talk because you don't want to hear what I have to say.
fire away, Joel. This
fact
is
of the
Jason again. Go
Or
ahead.
Wayne.
Hi, Jay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, I guess I don't get to talk.
Go ahead. That's what.
Go ahead, Wayne.
At issue is why we were critical of Joel Miller. Joel Miller went public and said, write letters to the Economic Development Commission telling them to deny the application.
That is not
Okay, that's
factual,
what we've
Wayne.
been critical of, and that's what he did, and he did it, and I can show you that he did it. Okay? Whether Canada wants to take responsibility for that, that's fine. Canada's not a city council person.
Agreed.
Joel Miller is. You guys have created, we're all conservatives here, all fiscal conservatives, I assume. Everyone on this panel is. I know I am. I'm merely defending the opportunity to even have to have as part of the financing of these proposals, should the city ever decide to go forward with them, state tax rebate. I don't even necessarily support the fact that the state has this stupid program.
I think we all
If they
agree on
do
that one,
have
Wayne.
it-
We can agree on that.
yeah, we can agree on that. If they do have it, and we're all going to pay for it, it's a good thing for those funds to come to Colorado Springs, which really is not keeping up with Fort Collins and Denver and Boulder and the rest of the state.
Let me ask you this, Wayne, because I understand you have a fairly extensive background in the economic understanding and you are conservative. Let me ask you this. Given the opportunity of bringing that money in, should we or should we not go after the right tourism dollars based upon data that warrants the tourism coming in? Because right now, the 4 projects that we've seen do not support that.
Well, again, as I said, the 4 projects are not necessarily perfect, and we don't necessarily support them all, and certainly not in every detail that they've been discussed. We're at the very early stages of this.
Sure. Well,
So,
and that's
what I'm trying to avoid here, what I'm opposing, is this sort of what I see as a self-serving echo chamber that benefits a few people, where we're going to say that, convince everyone that this is a done deal, and it's developers trying, the conspiracy theory being that it's developers trying to help themselves, and it's a done deal, and it's going to be crammed down your throats, and if we don't stop the application, it's going to happen. That's not true.
Hold
None of
on.
that's
Do
true.
you mind if I interject just real quick there?
Sure.
And here's why I do that. What do you think about Chuck Murphy being on the RTA board but not recusing himself?
I don't know anything about that.
Come on, Wayne. Yes, you do.
No, I really don't.
You're an intelligent guy. He sits on the board. He owns the land that it's possibly going to go on. And if you don't know anything
well,
about
I
that,
would assume that
that's where you need to do some digging as the media.
if-
Report honestly.
Look, anyone who owns land that any of these proposals are going to go on obviously should recuse himself, herself,
Okay.
before any kind of vote is taken.
Thank you.
Agreed.
I'm glad we
Before
agree on that.
participating in any
Hey,
vote. Yeah,
Wayne,
no,
can I follow
absolutely.
up on a
That's
point you
standard-
made
that's standard
twice?
procedure. What's
Wait,
that?
made a point. That's Bill Murray. A question for you. You said that either yourself or the Gazette didn't support all these proposals.
Well, we don't know yet. Like I said, what I said was we support trying to secure financing opportunities.
Oh, but
so
you
that-
support all the
that the community
proposals.
can then kick this stuff around. If you've ever seen this magnitude of proposal go forward, it's a long.
No, the assumption I made based on your
complicated
op-ed was that you had read the proposals, you had digested the proposals, you had evaluated the proposals, and you were in fact making recommendations to us based on your research. Now you're telling
No,
me
we-
that you didn't make any research, you didn't do any
No, we've
background.
done research. We've done as much research as available. We have not said, "Oh, let's definitely do this and this and this, and put this here and put that there." We haven't done any of that. We've said, let's, as a community, be open to this. Let's consider it. Let's try.
We
to
did consider
Let's
it.
try to secure the
Yeah,
opportunity.
as
of
long
the
as you're not
state-
Joel Miller.
that sales tax rebate.
Exactly.
Wayne,
So,
you know,
Joel Miller has been criticized for sabotaging the application, and that is all. Not for opposing the project. Not in the least. We said it's fine to oppose the project. It's fine
Wayne-
to oppose them at an early stage. Don't go to the if I say, hey, I want to start a business and I need to get an SBA loan, and you say, Wayne, that's not a good idea.
Wayne,
It's a
I've gotta
crappy
go to
thing
break.
Write to the SBA and tell them that I'm a dead. Okay.
Wayne, I've got to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to go right to Candace Corner. I just wanted to say thank you for calling in. Thanks for the debate. Let's do this again because I think this is
Okay, that'd be
important. I think we should do this again, and let's do that. Thanks for calling in, and I just want to say that Joel Miller actually did the right thing on behalf of the Colorado Springs residents.
Pretty woman, won't you pardon me? Pretty woman.
At the last election of the city council, it was encouraging to see that many of those elected presumably understood the meaning of sound, fiscally responsible government. Unfortunately, a few of those city council members have allowed themselves to be usurped by agendas and gaining political favor. Now, the Colorado Springs City Council is in the process of reviewing the city and utility budgets. Last week was the debate and vote in regard to the city budgets. In votes that were clearly not in the best interest of the citizens of Colorado Springs, but obviously favored special interest groups, Council members Jill Gabler, Andy Pico, Merv Bennett, Val Snyder, and Jan Martin voted in lockstep when it came to these unfavorable budgetary decisions. It was most disappointing that Councilmember Andy Pico was often the deciding vote. This week on Tuesday, there is a public meeting to discuss the utilities budget. As a citizen of the city, you would expect the budget items to be for maintenance and resources. But what you would find is sometimes surprising. I'm going to focus on one of those surprises. This segment of Candace Corner will be on funding of nonprofits by the city and the Colorado Springs utilities. So first I must ask, if it came before you, citizen taxpayer, to pay your money to a politician's chosen nonprofits, would you be inclined to give, or would you rather fund your own nonprofit choices? After all, this is your money. In a time when the city is fiscally strapped, why are we providing money to nonprofits that will already be given through the citizens' own pocketbooks? And why are these specific nonprofits chosen? Why don't we see different nonprofits showing up? In fact, where are the criteria for our tax dollars to be giving to these entities? My experience with this city is that it is an exceptionally altruistic city. During the fires, there was no limit to the volunteerism and donations that were given to those in need, not excluding our own government employees. In fact, here in studio, Jason Han was one such individual that headed up these efforts. It begs the question, does our local government really need to stimulate charitable activities when organizations like the Colorado Springs Rescue Mission and the Assistance League of Colorado Springs, just to name a couple, receive no government funding, yet are proving to be a couple of the most successful at serving our community and are fiscally sound as well? On the budget of the utilities are not only traditional charitable organizations receiving our utility ratepayer dollars, but there is one line item for a quasi-governmental organization to receive funding, almost $500,000 of our money. This organization has been tasked with recruiting and retaining businesses for economic development. First, doesn't the mayor have an Office of Economic Vitality? In fact, there are 6 high-paid bureaucrats who work in that office for a total of almost $1 million. In fact, former Manitou Springs council member and Colorado Springs City Council Administrator Amy Cox took a pay raise to transfer over to that office. So why are we paying for an outside entity to do what our mayor's office is allegedly already doing? If this is a necessary service, they should be managed as contractual tasks. Contracts for services for the city should require a competitive process through a request for proposals. What is this quasi-governmental entity that is receiving our funds? The Regional Business Alliance. This is the same organization that supports the City for Champions and has a crossover of the same cronies that you see on multiple boards and commissions, which control the use of our money and seemingly for their own profit. So why are we giving this money to these organizations? There is no RFP or vetting process for which organizations would be best equipped to perform the service sought. So, I'm just an outsider looking in, but from appearances, it looks a lot like cronyism to me. Are some of the sitting members of our city council fearful of losing their favored status with these organizations? When it comes to the RBA, the answer is probably yes. During every election, the RBA has endorsed political candidates, and they also give money to those that they endorse. I would ask every listener out there to go to the City Hall on Tuesday, November 12th at 9 a.m. and let your counselors know that you do not approve of your money being spent on cronyism, agendas, and political favors. And those are my considerations in Candace Corner.
Thank you, Canda. Thank you, Jason Han, Bill Murray. Thank you, Canda Califf again, Wayne Lageson. We will continue this debate on November 30th, just in time for the December 4th meeting with the RTA in Denver. Next week, women, guns, and last year's legislation. Don't forget District 38 and the biometric hand scanning.